Welcome to the rat house, baby, where the truth ain't quiet, and neither are you. Where the CHATRATS crew slide in, pull up a seat, crime talk, cold facts, and a jazzy backbeat. We got stories to tell, got some justice to serve, so pour up that coffee or something with a swerve. There's Rat Daddy leading 6'5", a cool Toys the queen with the sharpest of tools. Dean's cracking jokes, Mary B's got the tea, and Lawleen lays the law down, real boss energy. MJ's got the fire, Gingy's taking names, Cassie's dropping Angel Baby's in the game. The clerk's keeping order, Misty's watching close. Pinky promises, keeps receipts, and she does the most. We're the CHATRATS, baby, worldwide and bold. Stories unfold while the crime scene gets cold. Puff, puff, pass, and the truth gets exposed. At the rat house, baby, that's how it goes. Snap, snap. Cherry lights it up. Sherry lights it up, neon glow behind her head. Tombstones drops the facts that awake the dead. Connor's taking notes, Janine's on the clock. Hetty the paralegal keeps the court on lock. Sweet woman, sweet, but she'll sting if you like. Calypso keeps it cool, got that island vibe. Prince Lover's in purple, that Texas pride glowing. Sherry's laughing loud while the facts keep flowing. Bum, 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 bum. Da-da-bum, da-da-bum, ghetto. Coming through, crazy-eyed cheese, oh you better believe. Robo-rat clicks, sparks, gears in his head, breaking the code till the lies drop dead. Jump, jump. We're the CHATRATS, baby, worldwide and bold. Stories unfold while the crime scene gets cold. Puff, puff, pass, and the truth gets exposed. At the rat house, baby, that's how it goes. Crime solving, cracks. World's our stage. That's a fact. Together, we're the CHATRATS crew. We ain't looking back.
What's up, everybody? What's happening? Jamming out to the music. I forgot what was going on for a second. But yeah, we might do that for a second while we wait on everybody to show up. But today, I was scrolling through Turtleboy stuff, trying to find something to watch, something to keep us occupied for a little while till we ride turtles. And I think we're going to watch frame 2 with a little commentary here and there. But I think first, might as well jam out to a little music real quick. See what happens. Make sure you go get sub to Toy.
Cut. Clench. Kegel. Here we scalpel so sharp when I step on the scene. Facts on deck, my cut so clean. Dear little sweet, baby Jesus, grab that spleen. I clock your vitals while you spill that tea. Truth got pulse, you flatlined on me. I scrub and clean while y'all talk cheap. I chart receipts, no gossip sheets. Next patient, please, I don't treat deceit. Clutch those pearls, bitch, breathe. This is Nurse Kim's creed. Facts stay raw, I don't plead. Mic in my hand like Ivy's feet. Going for pressure, that's the Boston way. I bleed no cap, truth in my veins. Runs facts all day. Talk your shit, but mind your speed. Cause clutching's part of the creed. Talk your shit, I sterilize scenes. Burn through lies like I'm autoclave steam. Mask on tight, can't breathe my air. Pressure so thick, it'll cold you there. Vitals jump when I walk in clean. Truth gets served while you spill that tea. Calm as a cut, no shakes, no plea. I make the facts bleed, pretty for free. Clutch those pearls, bitch, breathe. This is Nurse Kim's creed. Facts stay raw, I don't plead. Mic in my hand like IVC. Going for pressure, that's the Boston way. I bleed, no cap, truth in my veins. Runs facts all day. Talk your shit, but mind your speed. Cause clutching's part of creed. Oh, you still with me, lovies? Don't chase clout, chase context. Oh dear sweet baby Jesus, half these takes need triage. Read this chart back, word for word. Every line I spit is a fact confirmed. Perception versus projection, same disease. Only truth gets sanitized by me. Blues Clues, motherfuckers is Debbie. Clutch those pearls, bitch, breathe. This is Nurse Kim's creed.
What up? Good music. Good music. What's up, Kazi G? Prince Lover? Blue Eyes, what's going on? Hello, Nelly. Oasis Cat, what up? Trust is Love, Cheryl. EB, what's up, EB? Mel. Oh, Carrie B. Carrie B's got a rat suit on. It's the best one, in my opinion. What's up, Kazi? You at work? Kazi working on a Sunday. If not, you can come up here and hang out. And I think because when everybody starts rolling in and hanging out, we're not going to be able to watch stuff like we want to. Kind of want to go ahead and start watching this frame too, because we'll be struggling to get through it if we don't. And I like it. Pretty good pregame. Pretty good pregame. Make sure you go sub to Toy. And let's just get after it for a minute and chill out.
My name is Aidan Kearney, and I'm the founder of Turtleboy Daily News. For the last 2 years, I've been reporting on the murder of John O'Keefe and the prosecution of Karen Reed. In doing so, I've exposed unprecedented amounts of corruption in the Massachusetts State Police and the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office. As a result of my relentless journalism and activism, this case has gotten more attention than any murder case since O.J. Simpson. Millions of people now know that Karen Reed was framed, and that the people who murdered John O'Keefe were protected by their friends and family in law enforcement. This has led to widespread outrage and demonstrations outside the courthouse and in the streets across the country. Because of the damaging effect that my reporting and protesting has had on the Commonwealth's case and reputation, I was arrested by the same police I've been exposing and charged with 16 counts of felony witness intimidation, conspiracy, and picketing. The charges are completely meritless and were designed to get me to stop reporting and stop leading this movement for justice. An overview of my charges can be found in the video linked in the description. When I first
This is good. I hope everybody's seen it. Because if you hadn't seen it, you're about to see it again. But yeah, this is a good one. I like it. I like it. So here we go. And as always, Turtleboy Defense Fund is pinned at the top of the chat. So if you got an extra 5, 10, 20, give it to him. Defense costs money. Free Turtleboy.
On January 29th, 2022, Boston police officer John O'Keefe was found dead outside Brian Albert's house in Canton during a severe blizzard. O'Keefe's girlfriend, Karen Reed, who had dropped him off there earlier, became the sole suspect and was charged with manslaughter. She was later indicted for second-degree murder. Authorities claimed Reed hit O'Keefe with her SUV and fled the scene. However, emerging evidence pointed to O'Keefe being beaten inside Albert's house and left on the lawn to frame Karen Reed. The well-connected Albert family has been protected by their friends and family in law enforcement and the DA's office. They expected Karen Reed to give up and take a plea deal, but instead she fought back, uncovering details of the conspiracy surrounding the case. Karen Reed was arrested and charged with manslaughter on February 1st, 2022. Her attorney, David Yannetti, did not allege any conspiracy to frame his client at her February 2nd arraignment. Outside of court, Yannetti simply said,
I think that there was a lot of political pressure on this district attorney's office to bring charges in light of the fact that a police officer was the victim here. This is a defensible case. I will tell you that my client has no criminal intent. She loved this man. She is devastated.
He did not state or suggest that his client did in fact strike O'Keefe with her car. Karen was admittedly drunk on the evening of January 28th and had no memory of hitting John O'Keefe with her car. She says that she saw him go into the house, but had no idea how he ended up dead on the lawn. She began to wonder if she could have accidentally bumped into John without realizing it. One thing that didn't cross her mind in the days after John died was that the people inside Brian Albert's house would beat him up and throw him on the lawn to die like trash. That changed on February 3rd, 2022, the day after Reed's arraignment. Yannetti was visited in his Boston office by a man named Steve Scanlon. Scanlon was a former corrections officer and a longtime friend of Brian Albert. He told Yannetti that he should look at the people inside the house and opined that O'Keefe was beaten up by Brian Albert, an ATF agent, and Albert's nephew, and that they later moved his body to where Reed found him at 6 a.m. Although Scanlon didn't specify names, didn't mention Colin Albert or Brian Higgins in particular, they were the only ones who matched this description who were at the house that night. This was the first time Karen had heard that Colin was at the house, and it suddenly started making sense what had happened. From that point on, she began investigating the investigation into her and discovered that she was being framed. Scanlon wanted to be a whistleblower, but since he's a coward, he also wanted to remain anonymous and wouldn't sign an affidavit for David Yannetti. When I spoke with Scanlon, he told me that he didn't know for sure what had happened to John, but said that the injuries to John, quote, didn't add up. There's just one problem with that, though. John's autopsy photos weren't released at that time, and his injuries hadn't been reported by any media outlets. So Scanlon would have no idea what his injuries were. Scanlon wasn't wrong, though. When people get run over by cars, they generally have bruises all over their body and broken bones. Not John O'Keefe, though. He had no bruises or broken bones below his nose, but he did have 2 black eyes, defensive wounds on his knuckles, a 3-inch laceration in the back of his head, indicating that he had been hit by a blunt object, and what appears to be dog bites exclusively on his right arm. You don't have to be a doctor to know that a car did not do that. Karen Reed and John O'Keefe.
Nope. No impact. No signs of impact, period. It's ridiculous. And then at the end of it all, we get the x-rays at the end of trial 2. That was fucking nuts. We didn't get x-rays until then. Insane. Oh, we just misplaced them. What the fuck?
Dated 20 years ago and reconnected romantically after speaking on Facebook during the pandemic. During those 20 years, John left his job as a Duxbury police officer to join the Boston Police Department. In 2014, John's sister and brother-in-law tragically died in less than 3 months of each other, leaving John's young niece and nephew without their parents. John stepped up and became their parent, raising them alone and moving to Canton. Karen worked for Fidelity as a financial analyst and was an adjunct professor at Bentley University. She owned a home in Mansfield, but for all intents and purposes, was cohabitating with O'Keefe and acting as a de facto stepmother to O'Keefe's niece and nephew. Text messages leading up to the night O'Keefe was killed show that Reed felt taken advantage of by John, as some referred to her as the, quote, babysitter with benefits. Ouch. John didn't like how she spoiled the kids. They argued, as many couples do, sometimes in front of the kids, and discussed breaking up. There was an incident.
Was it not insane? We've been waiting this whole time. 2 trials. Nobody said anything about any x-rays. The only thing they said was there weren't any. And at the end of this trial, second trial, we get fucking x-rays. And what did the x-rays show? No broken bones.
Aruba a month before John died, where Karen angrily confronted a woman named Marietta Sullivan and accused her of kissing John. And Karen was frustrated that John got drunk during the trip and left her to take care of his kids. Karen herself sought validation and attention from an ATF agent friend of John's named Brian Higgins, who she flirted with over texts in January of 2022, but ultimately ended up ghosting him after a tap kiss in John's garage 2 weeks before John died. One time, John told Karen to leave the house, but they never ended up breaking up because Karen was so helpful with the children. Despite their occasional arguments, John and Karen were lovey-dovey at CF McCarthy's on the night that she allegedly killed him and was described by witnesses to be affectionate towards one another. On Friday, January 28th, the huge winter storm coming to Massachusetts was all over the news. John and Karen texted back and forth all day, talking about problems in their relationship. But whatever issues they had with each other wasn't enough to keep them apart that night, as John repeatedly invited her to Canton to drive him around to the bars and get snowed in with him and the kids for the weekend. John went out to a local bar called CF McCarthy's with his friends Mike Camerano and Kurt Roberts. Karen drove in from Mansfield and met them there at 9 p.m. She immediately began ordering drinks and could be seen on camera paying for 4. By 11 o'clock, Reed and O'Keefe made plans to go to a bar across the street and meet up with a woman named Jennifer McCabe, who O'Keefe was friends with because his niece was friends with one of McCabe's 4 daughters. McCabe was at the bar with her husband, Matt McCabe, her sister, Nicole Albert, Nicole's husband, Brian Albert, Brian's brother, Chris Albert, and Chris's wife, Julie Albert. Joining them there was Brian Higgins, the ATF agent Reed had previously flirted with earlier in the month before, quote, ghosting him. While they were there, Jennifer McCabe invited O'Keefe to Brian Albert's house for an after party, where Brian Albert Jr. was celebrating his 23rd birthday with several friends and his 17-year-old cousin, Colin Albert. One witness described McCabe as trying to separate John from Karen, who had
Hello.
What's up, Charles?
How's everybody doing?
AKA Charlie.
I like Charles.
Oh, you like Charles now? Just switching.
Yeah, with my mustache the other night.
Oh, you got a little taste of woke, and then now you woke.
Yeah, I felt a little bit of, oh my gosh. I was going to say, I felt a little man and now I can't stop.
Oh my God. That's funny. Well, glad you're here. Welcome to Hangout Fest.
Yay.
This is Hangout Fest 2025, Chatapalooza.
no interest in going to an after party at a stranger's house. After an hour, the bar closed and Brian and Nicole Albert left to go back to their home at 34 Fairview Road. Higgins can be seen on video yelling and pointing in O'Keefe's direction before being held back and restrained by Chris Albert. While he was at the bar, he had texted O'Keefe's girlfriend, well, as if to say, why are you ignoring me? He was drunk, upset with O'Keefe, and felt disrespected by O'Keefe's girlfriend. When Nicole and Brian Albert got back home, they testified that their nephew Colin was still there, but that he left within a few minutes. Colin claimed that he had been there for 90 minutes, dropped off earlier in the evening by Jennifer McCabe's daughter, Allie, so that he could wish his much older cousin, Brian Albert Jr., a happy birthday. Despite being a teenage meathead who loves to drink and party, Colin's story is that he left the house minutes after his fun uncle arrived to the party because he wanted to get home, kiss his parents goodnight, and go to bed. Right. Physical violence and toughness are things that are encouraged amongst male members of the Albert family. Brian Albert is a former Marine and trained boxer with 30 years of experience as a Boston police officer, serving on the fugitive unit where he was in charge of tracking down and arresting some of the most violent and dangerous criminals. He reportedly assaulted 2 other Boston police officers named Eddie Hernandez and Stephen Ridge and had a bad reputation amongst the rank and file in the BPD. Chris Albert is a thug who has political power in town. On June 23rd, 2024, he threatened to beat my face up and down the sidewalk outside CF McCarthy.
Up and down the sidewalk in 2 seconds.
You'll beat my face.
I wouldn't. I could.
You could, yeah. You seem really intimidated. Then watched gleefully as one of his employees and his crazed sister-in-law, Jill Daniels, assaulted me on camera.
Oh, here it is. Look who's here.
Here she is.
You know what? I'm so sick of your shit.
Chris knew he can get away with this because the McAlberts basically run the town of Canton. Chris is on the board of selectmen. His brother Kevin Albert's a detective sergeant. Brian Albert is a legend, and Tim Albert once owned a pool. As a member of the select board, Chris is in charge of hiring the police chief who works for him. Unsurprisingly, Chief Helena Rafferty and former Chief Ken Berkowitz both supported Chris Albert's campaign for selectmen and used their positions of authority to cast doubt on what was plainly a cover-up in the eyes of any rational person. Chief Berkowitz allowed allowed Brian Higgins to have an office at the Canton Police Department and asked a reporter to take down a tweet on February 1st, 2022, because the tweet mentioned the fact that John O'Keefe's body was found on Brian Albert's front lawn, and Brian Albert was a, quote, pillar of the community who didn't deserve to have his reputation tarnished. In November of 2023, the people of Canton held a special town meeting where they voted to audit the police department despite the select board and Chris Albert voting 5-0 not to. Colin was the star of the Canton High School football team and the quintessential jock who thought football was cool, but Shakespeare was a loser. He was also neighbors with O'Keefe and had reportedly gotten into shouting matches with his much older neighbor after throwing beer cans on O'Keefe's lawn. Colin's parents jokingly referred to O'Keefe as Nevercracker in reference to a grumpy cartoon character who didn't like people on his lawn. Colin has a history of violence and has gotten into several fights that were memorialized on video. He had also issued disturbing threats to a group of teenage hockey players from Hingham known as the Advantage Boys.
Yo, your Advantage Boys.
Say it, Charlie. Bang, bang.
Bang, bang.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It'll fuck you up.
Pull up.
I will beat all your asses.
How do you beach somebody's ass? Is that like a beached whale? You like
Yeah,
I'll
I
beat
beat your
I'll
ass.
beat your ass
Pull up.
stuck in the sand? I'm gonna beat your ass.
That's why he's never been in a fight. Because he beaches them.
Yeah, he just beaches them.
I'm sure I'll fuck you all up.
All of them.
Pull up, bitch.
Despite this, Colin claimed during the trial that he had never been in a fight before, something that was undeniable perjury. Like many others, Colin looked up to and admired his uncle Brian. Family photos of the Alberts almost always show the men either giving the middle finger to the camera or holding up their fists like boxers do. The Commonwealth wants us to believe that as soon as his uncle Brian got back to the party, Colin just immediately decided it's time to leave. Colin, Chris, and Julie Albert have all known State Police Detective Michael Proctor for decades. And as luck would have it, Proctor ended up being assigned lead investigator for O'Keefe's murder. 7-year-old Colin was the ring bearer in Proctor's sister Courtney's wedding. There's pictures of Colin and his family all over Courtney's Facebook page. And Proctor's own mother referred to the Alberts as a, quote, second family. Yet Proctor did not recuse himself from the investigation or disclose this close relationship. In fact, he denied knowing that when he testified in front of the grand jury that indicted Reed. He said he didn't know him. Karen discovered by researching the Albert and Proctor families on social media this was a lie. Throughout the investigation, Proctor went out of his way to protect the McAlberts by treating them as witnesses instead of potential suspects and not interviewing eyewitnesses and even accepting bribes from the Alberts on the day that Reed was arrested. Shortly after Brian and Nicole arrived at 34 Fairview Road, Jennifer and Matt McCabe pulled into the driveway and parked there. At 12:14, John O'Keefe had just left the waterfall bar with Karen Reed and texted Jen McCabe asking where to. At 12:18, he called her asking her to clarify directions. Unfamiliar with the town that she didn't live in, Karen went slightly out of the way to get there, coming from the east on Cedar Crest Road. She missed the left-hand turn onto Fairview Road, did a U-turn in the driveway, and then she went back to Fairview Road. When she did so, a truck was coming from the opposite direction and was trying to turn left on a Fairview Road. Inside that truck was Ricky D'Antano, Heather Maxon, and her boyfriend Ryan Nagel, whose sister.
So he had to be in the car then, but they weren't close enough to see him. He had to be in the fucking car.
They saw Karen and John at the stop sign right before they turned on Fairview Road.
But they saw John for sure.
They saw John. They saw a
There's
female
no other.
driving.
He had to go in the house then. There's no other fucking way. He had to go in the house. Period. There's no other.
There you
Unless
go.
he was abducted by aliens in the front yard on the way to the door.
Because
I
Matt
mean, when you
McCabe
get abducted by
supposedly,
aliens, it happens fast.
with the street light available, Matt McCabe could supposedly see tire tracks in the snow, but not John on the lawn.
Oh
I
my
mean, the
God.
reflection off
Julie
Matt
Nagel
McCabe's teeth,
was a
you could
friend
see
of-
everything.
Yeah, but it wasn't Lucifer looking out the damn window. So you got
All the
people
way
looking
up
out
to
the
the point
window.
that Karen left.
You got a car coming up behind them. You got the other sisters fixing to come out, so she's kind of pay attention to the front door, probably. because she's headed that way.
They had to text her to let her know. And after 5 minutes, they texted her again because they were getting aggravated. So they sat out there 5 minutes before Julie Nagel got the second text.
But they all remember every single minute, every single motion down to the minute
That's
after
because they
midnight,
made
3
the
years later.
timeline.
Come
No,
on.
they made the timeline next morning using their phones. So that's how they remember everything.
Brian Albert Jr., and it called him looking for a ride home. D'Antano allowed Reed to turn onto 34 Fairview and drop John off in the driveway, where she claims that she saw him run quickly to the side door. D'Antano, Maxon, and Nagel pulled in seconds afterwards and testified that they did not see John O'Keefe run into the house, which would make sense because the other cars in the driveway would have obstructed their view from seeing him. Karen had no intention of going inside because she didn't know anyone there. And throughout the whole scene, she just thought it was sketchy because the house was dark and Higgins had just yelled at O'Keefe before leaving the bar. But John was drunk and wanted to go, so she agreed to drop him off. The plan was for him to call or text her that he was inside to let her know everything was fine and she'd go back to his house 3 miles away at One Meadows Ave, where his 14-year-old niece was home alone. But John never called or texted Karen Reed again. As she waited outside, she became frustrated with John for not calling her and assumed that he had once again gotten drunk and left her to take care of his kids. After 10 minutes, she left and drove back to John's house, leaving all sorts of angry voicemails and text messages accusing him of cheating on her. This is the exact opposite thing that you would do if you just murdered someone. Scott Peterson and countless other killers have left voicemails for their victims, pretending to be worried about them.
Hey, beautiful. I just left a message at home. 2:15. I live in Berkeley. I won't be able to get to Villa Farms to get that basket for Papa. I was hoping you would get this message and go on out there. I'll see you in a bit, sweetie. Love you. Bye.
Reed's messages indicated that she thought John was alive, possibly with another woman, and had left her alone to watch his children. Who wouldn't be pissed? According to Trooper Nicholas Garino, Karen Reed logged into John's Wi-Fi at 12:36 a.m. The 2.3-mile trip from Fairview Road to One Meadows Ave, which included going through a traffic light in the center of town, would have taken at least 6 minutes in ideal conditions. In the snow, it would take much longer. That means Karen had to leave Fairview Road no later than 12:30 a.m. This presents a huge problem for the Commonwealth. Ricky D'Antano, Heather Maxon, and Ryan Nagel all testified that Julie Nagel came out and said that she was going to stay there instead. They all left while Karen Reed was still parked outside and drove by her Lexus. All three of them testified that they saw Karen Reed alone in her car with the interior lights on, in her hands at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel. None of them saw John O'Keefe inside the car with Karen Reed. None of them saw O'Keefe on the ground outside the car or standing outside the car. This means there could only be one place that O'Keefe was, inside Brian Albert's house. The forensic evidence backs this up. John's Apple Health data shows that he ascended and descended 3 flights of stairs between 12:22 and 12:24 a.m. Karen's Apple Health data does not show her going up any flights of stairs during that time. This means that Reed and O'Keefe could not be in the same place at that time. Brian Albert has 2 flights of stairs in his house. Karen Reed's Lexus doesn't have a basement. Don't worry though, the Commonwealth has an explanation for that. You see, John's GPS, which has a 3-minute standard deviation from the actual time, shows that he wasn't there yet at 12:22. According to Detective Garino, the Norfolk DA's forensic expert, John was on Oakdale Road and was probably moving the phone up and down in the car.
The movement of the phone, the distance traveled, it's going to register steps. You don't have to physically be walking and moving the phone for it to register movements. Just waving it around and then could potentially cause it to think you're walking and moving.
Which somehow...
Does he know how smart these people in Silicon Valley are? Do you think they didn't try to wave the fucking phone around to see if the pedometer would pick up steps? That's the dumbest shit. It's actually pretty fucking accurate on steps, stairs, everything. The phone knows when you're going 35 miles an hour. It wouldn't register you going up steps.
I mean, Fairview Road is its own animal, though.
Yeah, but the phone knows when it's riding in a car. It knows when it's walking.
I'm just kidding. It's completely flat road.
I know it knows when you're awake.
Yeah, it's Santa.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. But seriously, those phones are pretty accurate. That's just stupid to say you could just wave it around and count 10 steps. No, won't happen.
tricked Apple into believing that he had just climbed a couple flights of stairs. Garino testified that it was a very hilly street, so I tried driving down Oakdale Road to see if I could get my Apple Health data to say I climbed stairs. This is what I found.
Look how flat this street is. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Watch out for the hill, kid.
Watch out for the hill, kid.
That's so funny. I forgot that was next.
Yeah. What's up, Mary B?
Hey, what's up?
I thought you were still watching foosball.
All the late games are over.
Mary, hello.
Hi, how's it going, Charlie? Hi, Laleen.
Well, we're just watching some TV. Spit some fucking facts. This shit just rolls out. I know he's using a teleprompter or whatever because you can get one built in the StreamYard, but still. There's a lot of facts to know about some shit.
Flattest street in Canton. Unsurprisingly, my Apple Health data did not show that I had climbed any flights of stairs. D'Antano, Maxon, and Ryan Nagel all testified that there were no cars in between them and Reed's Lexus. This presented a problem for the Commonwealth, so they had to try to find a way to discredit them. The solution to this was for Matt McCabe, Jen McCabe, and Brian Higgins to make up a lie that Higgins had parked his white Jeep next to Brian Albert's mailbox, which would have been in between the Lexus and D'Antano's truck.
And after the end of the driveway, there was a Jeep. And after the Jeep was the SUV, the dock SUV.
You did not see, for instance, a Jeep with a snowplow on the front parked in between you.
I did not.
And in fact,
You indicated that Jeep was just a little bit in front of the mailbox, meaning about there, correct?
Yes.
You certainly did not see a full-sized Jeep Wrangler outfitted with a snowplow between the SUV and Ricky's truck.
I did not.
I want to ask a question about Mr. Higgins. You said on Friday that you saw his vehicle when you got to the scene, correct?
Yes.
And you said that it was pulled up a little bit in front of the mailbox, correct?
Yes.
Did any car pull in between Ricky's truck and the SUV when you were sitting behind the SUV?
No, sir.
You didn't see a Jeep?
No, sir.
With a big old...
Where the fuck was this Jeep at? Why does nobody remember seeing the Jeep?
Because it wasn't there.
That's a lie because Higgy went there before everybody got there from the waterfall and said he plowed the driveway that cars were in.
Recently, they said it may have been all the way to the right of the driveway, which kind of makes sense, but I don't know.
You would still see it.
It was definitely there.
When you pulled up, you'd be like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and they said he was joking around and like plowed the driveway, but there was no snow.
I don't see how that's funny.
You're just joking around.
I mean, if somebody showed up late night at my house before I did after going out and there was some snow in the driveway and they made like a funny shape or something in the driveway with their plow, I guess that would be funny.
I guess.
That's all I can think of.
Well, I think stupid things are funny, so.
I do think stupid things are funny.
I mean, I do too, but that's like...
Yeah, but you can't just disappear a whole Jeep.
Well, it wasn't where they said it was. And I don't know
Right.
why. I don't know why they're trying to say it was there when it wasn't, but
But you take the way they were acting at the waterfall, and then you couple that with the fact that the Jeep was there but not there. Now we got a fucking problem.
Snowplow on the front of it?
No, sir, I did not.
That car was never between your car and the SUV, was it?
I never saw any other vehicle in between us.
And then after the end of the driveway, there was a Jeep. And after the Jeep was the SUV, the dock SUV.
Timeline of Karen getting back to One Meadows Ave at 12:36 was also problematic because Jen McCabe testified that she looked out the window 3 times and Karen was still there at 12:45. The Commonwealth claims that Karen struck John with her car at 12:32, meaning she couldn't get back to O'Keefe's house by 12:36, and she definitely wouldn't still be at Brian Albert's house at 12:45. In order to make it look like she was worried about where John was, Jennifer McCabe called his phone 6 times between 12:40 and 12:50. She later testified that they were actually butt dials, none of which resulted in a voicemail being left on John's phone because she would hang up and then, I guess, butt dial again. Then there's the Canton Library video, which perfectly captures the intersection in the middle of town that Karen would have driven through on her way back to John's house. If she had just hit John with her car, then her taillight would be visibly broken on that surveillance video, and they could nail her. The IT director, Louis Jutras, gave state police a share file with all the footage from that night, which Proctor then burned onto a CD. When he did that, the footage from the 2-minute window where Reed drove by was mysteriously missing. You got that? It recorded everything except for when the woman with the allegedly broken taillight drove by. How convenient. But the library wasn't the only place that surveillance videos that could have shown the condition of Reed's taillight as she drove back to John's house. There's hundreds of homes along the way, many of which have Ring cameras. Did police ask any of these homeowners to look at them? I randomly stopped and asked a homeowner who told me no one ever asked him for his.
What is it you need to know now?
So I was just wondering, did the state police ever come by here and ask for Ring camera footage from the morning of January 29th, 2022?
No, they haven't.
They haven't.
Normally, police canvass all over town asking for Ring and other surveillance videos, but the murder of a Boston cop wasn't worthy of that sort of effort, apparently. They knew Reed's taillight wasn't broken at 12:35, and they knew that asking to look at videos would exonerate her. Inside the house, when Karen Reed left, were Matt McCabe, Jen McCabe, Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, Brian Albert Jr., Caitlin Albert, Julie Nagel, Brian Higgins, and Albert Jr.'s friend, Sarah Levinson. But for some reason, people didn't question Nagel or Levinson until 9 months after Roki's death, and Caitlin Albert, Brian Albert Jr., and several others until 18 months later, despite the fact that they all would have likely heard or seen a murder less than 50 feet from where they were standing. Proctor had no interest in speaking with any of these people. Not a single
person saw him in the yard. And y'all already went by there and saw the yard. So you think you could leave the house and go to your car without seeing somebody laying in the yard?
I mean, maybe one person could have, but not every single one of them.
Yeah, but that's a...
Marlene, you're muted.
He's a big
I
dude.
said everyone was so concerned about watching their feet, so they weren't looking that way. They didn't want to slip.
They were trying not to fall because they were drunk.
The one who would have seen him would have been Caitlin Albert's now husband. I mean, he pulled in the driveway, sat there and waited on her for her to come out. Like, he's sitting out there for like 5 minutes and drove right past again where John would have been.
Well, he's also the dumbest guy on the planet, so.
Yeah.
It's just fucking nuts. This whole story don't
person inside the house reported hearing a man who was invited over the house being hit by a car outside. Matt and Jen McCabe testified that they were looking out the window frequently. Matt McCabe even said that he saw V-shaped tire tracks in the snow. Remarkably, neither of them noticed John O'Keefe's body on the front lawn. John was 6'2", 220 and was found just 10 feet from the curb. Yet not a single person saw his body as they drove directly past where the Commonwealth claims O'Keefe's body was, which would have been illuminated by the bright white snow. They all had their own excuses for that, including peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Then there's Tristan Morris and Caitlin Albert. Tristan was at the waterfall with his girlfriend Caitlin, but left early to go back to their apartment in East End and sleep for a couple hours before waking up to plow. Caitlin planned on staying the night at her parents' house at 34 Fairview Road. But for some unexplained reason, Tristan was woken up in the middle of the night by Caitlin, who told him to come and pick her up. What happened to change your plans? Perhaps a Boston police officer was beaten to death inside the home that she was supposed to sleep in that night. In Michael Lang's police report, it says that he spoke with Brian and Nicole Albert, who told him that Caitlin Albert left at 12:15 with Tristan. Conveniently, this would have gotten her out of the house before John and Karen arrived, and thus police would have no reason to question her. But after Caitlin and her parents received a summons from the FBI to testify at the federal grand jury, the Alberts were advised by their attorney, Greg Henning, not to lie about when they left because the feds already knew the answer to that. Caitlin admitted that Tristan did not pick her up until 1:45. And when Brian Albert was asked about the 12:15 time in Lank's report, Albert blamed Lank for writing down the wrong time. If police knew that Tristan had picked up Caitlin at 1:45, it would make Tristan a witness since he would have driven right past where John O'Keefe was allegedly dying of hypothermia. At trial, Tristan claimed that he never saw a body on the lawn because he was distracted, just like everyone else who left the house that night. The more people involved in a conspiracy, the harder it is for everyone to keep their story straight. This is why Brian Albert and Jennifer McCabe went out of their way to say that their kids had all left before John and Karen arrived. Less people to interview means less people to tell a different different version of events of the story. After Jennifer McCabe got home from dropping off Julie Nagel and Sarah Levinson, her Apple Health data shows that she went upstairs and was pacing around all morning. Her heart rate shows that she never went to sleep. Something was on her mind. Then, at 2:27 and 40 seconds, she Googled the most incriminating thing she could possibly have Googled. How long to die in cold? Except she spelled it hoss long to die in cold. Why would she Google this if she thought John O'Keefe had decided to go home with Karen Reid and never went inside Brian Albert's house? She had to have known that the plan was to put O'Keefe's body out on the lawn to make it look like he had died from hypothermia after being struck by a car. McCabe must have realized it was a huge mistake to Google this because the Cellbrite extraction report of her phone shows that she deleted the search along with 18 phone calls made that morning. In order to cover her tracks, she planned to Google the same thing the same exact way after O'Keefe's body.
Plus 18 phone calls. That's not strange because when they looked at her history, she hadn't deleted phone calls like that before.
It was the only Google search ever deleted on the phone as well.
Yep. She had never been in delete. And then all of a sudden, she deletes 18 phone calls and the fucking Google search.
Do you think it was her that deleted it, or do you think it was whoever did the extraction
I think it was her husband.
before he handed it over?
Yeah, well, she could have possibly been asleep upstairs. He went upstairs and got her phone. That's the activity. Him going through her phone trying to figure out what to delete.
I'm torn on it being Matt or Garino.
That's what I was thinking. Garino. I couldn't remember his name. God damn, Mary, I see that post.
Was found because it would be more explainable after finding out he was lying in the snow. She ended up doing this at 6:24, but claims Karen Reid was the one who told her to do this while John O'Keefe was being wheeled into the ambulance. However, according to Sergeant Good's testimony, Karen Reid was alone in a car at 6:24, and dash camera footage confirms this. Jennifer McCabe was trying to cover her tracks. The answer to Jen's question is 1 to 2 hours. That's all it would take for a person to die from hypothermia in an 18-degree snowstorm. If Karen Reid struck John O'Keefe with her car at 12:32, then he should have been dead when his body was discovered at 6 a.m. But he wasn't, so he couldn't have been out there for very long. Jennifer McCabe handed her phone over to police just days after O'Keefe's death, and the contents were all extracted by.
Lolene, what do you think the odds are that he could have stayed out there in the yard, exposed, no jacket on, covered in snow, and still live 6 hours?
He could possibly live, but he would definitely have had frostbite. Like without a doubt. And with how he was dressed, his fingers, his nose, his ears, and if he supposedly only had, he had no shoes on supposedly at the scene, his toes, everything would have had frostbite. That was an extremity.
Plus, he had a history of ulcers, so the ulcers they found that usually coincide with the
Wisniewski spots. Wisniewski spots.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if they say they found him in a snowbank.
Yeah. That's like the snowplow pushed snow up on top of him.
Yeah.
That's what they were trying to insinuate.
No, you can tell by the video there was a light dusting on top of him, and Carrie Roberts said that she had to remove like ice cubes over his eyes, like where the ice had piled up.
But that doesn't take very long.
No,
especially if you got
the snow was coming down fairly hard by like 4 a.m. So if they put him out there, which I personally think he got put out there at a little after 5 when Karen called Jen and then Jen called Nicole. I believe that was the phone call that when they put him out there.
Not hard enough though. Like I've shoveled in the snow for hours and hours and hours with just a t-shirt on because you get so hot. But even if you're not, it takes a very long time to get that cold.
Yeah, because you're warm.
No
He lost a bunch of blood, so that's going to let him get colder than you would.
But he didn't lose it in the front. I mean, Karen said there was a lot of blood in the front yard that they didn't find, but there still wasn't enough. I mean, a head injury bleeds profusely, like a lot of blood.
And some big
just
vessels.
all of it combined. Nah.
I mean, he supposedly, when they did the autopsy, was it 3 quarts was missing from his body?
I don't think they said.
Yeah,
in the
they did.
autopsy.
Yeah,
Like I
they
remember
did.
Turtleboy doing a rant on it because nobody had ever given any exact measurements.
I believe it was 3 quarts that was mentioned in there, but he kept saying, "Where's the blood? Where's the blood?" Karen told him the blood was there in the yard. I doubt 3 quarts was, but it looked like a lot more than 6 solo cup spots that they collected.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, he would have had to have fallen exactly where he was laying after the car hit him because he's not moving again. So that's an awkward way. If your back of your head hits the car, then you're usually just going to go face down because you're already out. You ain't nothing more than a sack of potatoes. You're not going to twirl and twist. You're going to go straight to where gravity takes you to the ground. You're not going to be laying face up, probably. And then how do your phone get up under you? That's convenient.
It just did, Danny.
It's very convenient. The phone made it underneath.
Detective Garino. Nowhere in Garino's report did it mention anything about a deleted Google search for Hoss Long to Die in Cold at 2:27 a.m. In fact, it didn't show the 624 search for the same thing either. And as it turned out, Garino has a history of manipulating Cellbrite data extraction reports. In February of 2021, a pregnant woman named Sandra Birchmore was found dead in her Canton apartment, in what state police, many of whom were involved in the Reid investigation, immediately determined was a suicide by hanging with a belt. Birchmore was last visited in her apartment by 6'4" Stoughton police detective Matthew Farwell, who had impregnated her and wasn't happy about it due to the fact that he was married with 2 kids and was about to have a third. Farwell met Birchmore when he was working in the Stoughton High School Explorers program. She was just 15 years old when he started having sex with her and 23 when she died. But Farwell was never treated as a real suspect, just as the people inside Brian Albert's house were never treated as suspects. He handed over his phone to Garino, who
We got a serious problem in this country with our police officers. They just arrested a whole pile of them in Mississippi, running drugs and all kind of shit. We got a problem with our police officers in this entire country. And I'm not saying there's not a lot of good ones. There's a lot of great ones. But man,
You
we're
saw what
nearing.
Steve posted in the chat last week about Mara Healy's, I forget his position, but was found with like, I can't even remember the number, how many kilos of cocaine. Somebody in the chat will remember. It was an insane amount of drugs.
It's just ridiculous.
It makes
said that
you
he couldn't
question
retrieve
everything.
32,000.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. But
Campaign funds.
what kills me is how long they got away with it in some of these cases. It's not like they did it once and got busted. They've been doing the shit for years.
1,709 text messages between Birchmore and Farwell, much like he couldn't find Jennifer McCabe's Google searches because they were deleted too. But Cellbrite extracts deleted messages and Google searches as well. Luckily, the FBI ended up looking into the case and found all the deleted messages showing that Farwell was into violent rape fantasies. In August of 2024, he was arrested by the FBI for murder. If it was up to Garino, the Canton police, and Lieutenant John Fanning, another one of Proctor's bosses who was in charge of the Birchmore investigation, Farwell would still be walking the streets today. The Google search was not discovered until April of 2023 when Reid's forensic expert Richard Green found it. This is what ultimately caught my attention and led to widespread publicity that the case wasn't getting before. Like many, I assumed the DA's office was run by ethical people who wouldn't knowingly prosecute an innocent woman, especially when there was evidence that someone inside the house was responsible for John's murder. But I underestimated just how corrupt they were and just how determined they were to get Karen Reid. 2 days after my first article reached millions of people and outrage was spreading over the case, the DA's office announced they weren't dropping the charges and would be disputing the 227 Google search, which they claimed never happened. But how could they know this on April 20th, 2023 if they hadn't hired their own expert yet?
Any comment on that? Why you Googled that at 227? Any comment, Mr. McCabe? Any comment? How can you show your face in court? Aren't you embarrassed? Aren't you ashamed? What are you hiding? What did you do? Why did you delete all those phone calls, Mr.
Are we seriously? We had 227 in the chat when he asked her about the 227 phone call. It's pretty cool.
McCabe? Why did you delete all those phone calls? Why did you delete your Google search?
The Google search was not discovered until April of 2023 when Reed's forensic expert Richard Green found it. This is what ultimately caught my attention and led to widespread publicity that the case wasn't getting before. Like many, I assumed the DA's office was run by ethical people who wouldn't knowingly prosecute an innocent woman, especially when there was evidence that someone inside the house was responsible for John's murder. But I underestimated just how corrupt they were and just how determined they were to get Karen Reid. 2 days after my first article reached millions of people and outrage was spreading over the case, the DA's office announced they weren't dropping the charges and would be disputing the 227 Google search, which they claimed never happened. But how could they know this on April 20th, 2023, if they hadn't hired their own expert yet? Over the next 6 months, they went searching for experts who would tell them what they wanted to hear. Jennifer McCabe might not have Googled horse lung to dying cold at 2:27 a.m. 2 months later, they found Jessica Hyde, whose report left open the possibility that the search may have happened at 2:27. Unsatisfied, they somehow came across a former Calgary, Alberta police officer named Ian Whiffen, who worked for Cellbrite and was promoting his new app called ArtX. Whiffen greenlights updates to Cellbrite software and was able to make sure that the 227 Google search did not come up on the updated version. He spent much of his testimony promoting his own app, which Cellbrite did not endorse. Somehow, the Commonwealth knew on April 20th that 7 months later, they would have an expert from Canada who would reach this conclusion. Karen Reid was furious with her boyfriend for ignoring her calls and texts and leaving her alone to watch John's niece. She fell asleep sometime around 1:30 and woke up at 4:30. This time, her emotions changed from angry to worried. John would never not come home to his niece and nephew, and he would never ignore that many phone calls from Reid. He was drunk, the weather conditions were dangerous, and she began to become extremely worried that something horrible happened. She woke up John's niece and used her phone to call Jennifer McCabe at 4:53 a.m., who was awake and had never gone to sleep all night for some reason. By that point, John's body hadn't been on the lawn for very long, if he was even there at all. Jen needed to delay Karen from going to 34 Fairview Road. She told Karen that John never came inside that house, but volunteered to go out looking for him with Karen. She invited Karen to come to her house, and Karen is seen backing into John's Chevy Traverse in the driveway as she went out looking for him at 5:07 a.m., cracking her rear taillights in the process. Karen.
How did they say for so long there was no contact with the vehicle, and we obviously saw the vehicle move with our human eyes? So I know they saw it.
As they said, there was no damage to John's vehicle, which is still speculation of whether or not it was repaired. But in all honesty, depending on where it hit, it might not have damaged his vehicle very much, if at all, to break her tail light. I mean,
Yeah,
we saw the
That was
picture
one
of
of
Reed.
Welch's experiments, though, wasn't it? And with his laser
Right,
cameras.
but what they got out in the trial was that that camera in the driveway had been replaced. So you don't, and he based his whole experimentation off of the camera being at the angle it was in 2024 when he did his experiments. So
Loser.
Went towards the waterfall bar first, then drove back towards.
He's a loser. Super rich loser. He's like $400 million man down here in the trial, just lying like a motherfucker. I don't think I got your full name, sir.
Jen McCabe's house. Her car is seen a mile and a half from McCabe's house at 5:18 a.m. But since she didn't know Canton very well and had no idea how to get to McCabe's house, she pulled over in the Canton cemetery, and her phone records show that she called her parents and Googled McCabe's address. She ended up getting there at 5:35 and picked up Jen, who convinced her to go back to One Meadows Ave to search the house for John, as if he would jump out of the closet and yell, "Peekaboo!" This was all part of Jen's plan to delay Karen from returning to 34 Fairview Road. Jen and Karen were met at John's house by his friend Kerry Roberts, and after searching the house without taking their shoes off, something the Commonwealth would later claim was evidence that she murdered John, the three of them jumped into Kerry's car and headed towards Fairview Road. When they arrived there, Karen immediately saw John's body on the lawn where she had been idling her car, waiting for him to call her back and say everything was okay inside. She jumped out of the car, rushed over to John, who was lying with the cell phone underneath his body, and began to perform CPR. Meanwhile, Jennifer McCabe called 911 and told them
34 Fairview Road is getting out. There's a man passed out in the snow.
So this is Jennifer McCabe. She says she's at 34 Fairview Road. And by the way, on the official police report, it actually says 32 Fairview Road. She says 34 Fairview Road at least 3 times in this tape, and they still put 32 Fairview Road. They also don't put Brian Albert Sr.'s name on it. They just put B. Albert. He's the only one not listed out. But listen to what she says there. There's a man passed out in the snow. Now, keep in mind, who is man? No. She knows who this man is because Karen Reid has gotten out of the car already and said, "There's John." And they're literally looking for John and they get out of the car when they see him. So she knows who it is. She says there's a man passed out in the snow. Now, keep in mind, this is a quote unquote man who she was just with 6 hours prior. She was just with him 6 hours prior. At the very least, according to her own story, they were together at the waterfall bar, and she invited him back to that house. She says Carrie 7 times. And I think she says Jen here.
I know, I'm on the phone with the ambulance. I know.
I know that sound. I know that. Listen to the fear in her voice. When Karen jumped out of the car, she was calling O'Keefe and left her phone in Carrie's car. A 4-minute voicemail was left on O'Keefe's machine that picked up McCabe's 911 call, which was immediately followed by McCabe whispering what sounded like, "No one's coming out to help." Jennifer McCabe phone records show that she called her sister Nicole Albert inside the house at 6:07 and 6:08 and spoke to her for durations of 7 and 9 seconds. Not enough time to have a conversation, but enough time to say, "Stay inside. No one's coming out to help." The first call happened at the exact time that you can hear Jennifer whispering, "No one's coming out to help." Nicole Albert was awake, and Jen McCabe was telling her to stay inside the house. For some reason, Jennifer McCabe deleted those 2 answered phone calls to her sister. But she and Nicole claimed that the 2 answered phone calls were never answered and that she never deleted them, even though Jen's phone record showed that she did. Disputing forensic data is a common theme with the McAlberts and the Commonwealth. Officer Saraf was the first cop who arrived on the scene. His report says nothing about a car accident or Karen Reid uttering incriminating statements. Yet at the grand jury several months later, his story evolved, and he claimed that Reid said, "This is all my fault." Although the Canton police were the first to respond to the scene, they were ultimately conflicted off of the case because O'Keefe's body.
I mean, this whole thing is weird because wouldn't you say officer down? Don't we all know that's the fastest way you can get the cops to show up somewhere? Officer down.
And it sounds like everyone in Canton knew John O'Keefe and his story of the sister and brother-in-law and the kids. I mean, say John
Later,
O'Keefe,
she calls
Officer
him.
John O'Keefe.
She calls him my dear friend John. In
I
court.
mean,
On this recording, she says, "There's a guy in the snow."
yeah, a man, like
Fuck. A
a
man in the snow.
guy would even be better. As a
An
man,
unidentified person is what it sounds like. We were driving by and we just randomly saw a guy in the snow.
But we weren't out looking for a specific police officer.
A specific guy named John O'Keefe, who is a fucking Boston police officer.
how about there's someone?
Officer down. John O'Keefe is in the yard. He's hurt. He's in Brian Albert's yard. Fellow Boston police officer.
He does eventually say the Albert's house when she gives the address. So it's like, we're popular enough and they're known, but Officer John O'Keefe wouldn't be something that would get someone there.
I mean, come on. At least say, "My friend John, we just found him in the yard. He's a Boston police officer. We need help." A man passed.
Body was discovered on Brian Albert's front lawn, and Brian Albert's brother, Kevin, is a detective in the Canton Police Department. Kevin Albert is drinking buddies with Proctor, who was later reprimanded when text messages revealed that the two of them had done some day drinking while investigating a cold case on Cape Cod, and Kevin Albert woke up hungover and realized that he left his gun and badge in Proctor's work vehicle. Oops. Paramedics arrived shortly after Officer Saraf, which included a woman named Katie McLaughlin, a close personal friend of Caitlin Albert. They graduated high school together, did cross country, and are photographed together in countless social situations up until a few months before O'Keefe's death, including trips to the beach, hot tubs, and a baby shower. Despite this, both she and Caitlin lied at the trial and said that they were just acquaintances who went to high school together. McLaughlin was one of nearly a dozen paramedics who responded to the scene, yet she was the only one police spoke with prior to Reid's arrest. On January 30th, Kevin Albert told Proctor that he wanted Proctor to interview McLaughlin and offered up Canton Police Department headquarters to do so, despite the fact that CPD was supposed to be conflicted off the case specifically because of Kevin Albert. McLaughlin told Proctor that she heard Reid say, "Hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him," at the scene, while Reid was standing next to Jennifer McCabe, Officer Saraf, and McLaughlin, while O'Keefe was already in the ambulance. That was her story. There's just a couple problems with that, though. Officer Saraf, 4 other cops, and 5 other first responders testified that Karen Reid never said, "I hit him," and police dash cam footage shows that when these 4 were standing together, John wasn't in the ambulance yet. Karen was arrested 2 days after McLaughlin told Proctor she said, "I hit him," and according to firefighters Anthony Flamati and Timothy Nuttall, Seattle, they talked about her case every day at the firehouse. Yet no other firefighters besides McLaughlin were ever questioned by Proctor until February 8th. By that time, the "I hit him" lie was all over the news and was the talk of the firehouse. And thus, Nuttall and Flamati both told Proctor that she said it. However, on cross-examination, it was revealed that neither of them was anywhere near Karen when McLaughlin claims that Karen uttered those words. Despite the fact that there was a hysterical woman screaming on their front lawn, bright, flashing fire and police lights illuminating the area, and an aggressive German shepherd that barked a lot and easily spooked inside the house, and phone data showing Nicole Albert spoke to Jennifer McCabe at 6:07, Brian and Nicole Albert claimed that they slept through the whole thing. Brian Albert, a trained first responder, did not come out of the house while a fellow Boston police officer was lying dead on his front lawn. The bedroom window was the closest to where O'Keefe's body was found, and they testified that Chloe was in the room with them. But Chloe, Brian, and Nicole did not wake up. However, their neighbors in what Matt McCabe would later call the Asian house did wake up and take these pictures, showing how impossible it would be to sleep through it. Canton Police Sergeants Sean Good and Michael Lank and Lieutenant Paul Gallagher arrived after Seraph, all of whom spent their entire lives in Canton. Good graduated and was friends with Courtney Proctor and Julie Albert's sister Jillian Daniels. Lank was good friends with Chris Albert since high school, and 20 years prior, he was involved in a drunken bar fight in which he came to the rescue of Chris and assaulted and arrested two brothers who Chris had started trouble with. None of these three cops had any sort of curiosity or suspicion about how a dead cop ended up on Brian Albert's front lawn.
But I bet they did, like when they were in the locker room or when they were in private conversations. I bet they were like, "Oh man, this is a fucked up situation. And we can't say anything about it at all."
John didn't seem dressed for the weather and was missing a shoe. If you or I invited a cop to our house and he ended up being found dead on our lawn with only one shoe on, the cops are definitely going to ask to search the house and get a warrant if you said no. But this was Brian Albert's house, a well-respected veteran police officer. As Proctor's text messages would later show.
What do you think about in Louisiana, Lawlene? If somebody was dead in your yard and you had the party that night, you think they'd talk to you?
They would be in your house no matter your status, color, sexual orientation, relationship to cops. It would not matter.
What if there was a bayou next to it?
Mm-mm.
The
Wouldn't matter.
body was in the
And
yard.
you'd have the game warden there also. If they found out that a cop was killed there, then any game warden on that water, any cop within 30 miles is on his way.
All right. That's the only stereotypical thing I could think of.
It's probably gonna be one of them crazy
About a
dudes from
bayou, they'd be
Florida.
searching the bayou for the weapon.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. There you go.
it's just crazy that nobody cared. Nobody even wanted to do the investigation. They juggled it back and forth to each other.
Oh, it's so foul.
No, they weren't
in that town. In that town, somebody making a loud noise, somebody gardening too loud gets a phone call and a police visit. A firework, anything.
Not a person that is unalived in your front yard that was at your party that you were hanging out with all night.
Depends who you are.
Guess
Want to hassle him. And they claimed there was no probable cause to search the house, despite the fact that none of them applied for a warrant, so a judge could determine that for them. For all they knew, John had been killed by someone who also killed the people inside the house. Yet they allowed Jennifer McCabe to go into the house by herself at 6:34 a.m., where she claims she woke up sleeping Brian and Nicole. Jennifer McCabe was the quarterback of the entire cover-up. She didn't cause John's injuries, but she was essential for making sure that those who did were never held responsible. Jen made sure to speak with every police officer that she could in order to push the narrative that Karen was responsible for John's being on the lawn. Dash cam footage shows Jen turning her back as John's body was being wheeled into the ambulance. She was too busy talking to Officer Seraph and laying the groundwork for framing Karen Reed. Jen's phone records show that she was talking to Carrie Roberts all day on January 29th, making sure that Carrie, a potential loose end, believed that Karen had killed John. She spoke to John's mother and made her feel the same way. She hid the fact that her cell phone data shows that on January 30th, she went to Sergeant Lank's house for an hour. She never disclosed this, but when confronted with the information at trial, she said that she had just gone there to talk to Lank's wife. Jen continued to show up for Karen Reed's hearings wearing a Justice for JJ button.
How can you wear those buttons when you covered up his murder?
And comforted the grieving family in court. What a psychopath. Soon after that, the sun came out and Lieutenant Gallagher began to search the grassy area where O'Keefe's body was found. There was less than 3 inches of snow on the ground at that time, so he used a leaf blower to clear off the light dusting and search for clues. He found transparent pieces of what appeared to be cocktail glass, but what he didn't find was 47 pieces of bright red taillights, some as big as a dinner plate, that Michael Proctor and the state police would find over the course of the next 3 weeks. The search was conducted on video too. Do you see any red taillight here? Transparent cocktail glass is much harder to see than bright red taillight on bright white snow. This cannot be emphasized enough. There was no taillight anywhere near John's body at 7 a.m., nor was there a missing shoe. Around this time, Karen Reid made statements that she was suicidal and she was sectioned for the next 4 to 5 hours. During this time, the McAlberts were allowed to talk together away from police and get their story straight. At 9 a.m., McCabe called Lank on his cell phone to tell him that she suddenly remembered Karen saying, "Could I have hit him?" Her story later evolved at trial to, "Did I hit him?" But she accused Lank of misquoting her in the original report. Police knew that protecting the crime scene was essential, especially since it was snowing and evidence could easily get buried. But the Canton police just left the crime scene completely abandoned the entire day. No crime scene tape put up, no cops to watch over the area and make sure.
I mean, if it happened right there when Nagel pulled up behind him, they would have saw it. She would have known she hit him if she backed up that far and gotten out to see what happened. I don't think she could have got the car put back. You know what I mean? There would have been tire tracks all in the fucking road everywhere. From
The theory was
he
he
would have
was
been laying in
outside
the
of the
damn yard
door.
right there.
No, they're saying that her tail light was not damaged at that point. So the theory is that her dome light was on because John was standing outside the door, like talking to her or maybe peeing or who knows, but that he had not left her car yet and they just couldn't see him because of her Lexus blocking him and that
But
she
Because he's
backed
like
up
me.
into him afterwards.
He's like me. I'm 6'4". Car seats don't cover you up. If I'm in the fucking car, you can see I'm in the car. Like,
all right,
you know what I
calm
mean?
down, Danny, with your tall
You
ass.
can see him too. His head's gonna be 2 inches
I
from
mean,
the fucking seat,
if
the roof
you
of the
start
car.
saying that, then they're going to say stuff. Oh, he dropped his cell phone. He had been over to pick up his cell. They're going to come up with a reason why
For
he was
5
on the
minutes,
other
he
side
had
of the
been over
car.
to pick his phone up.
No, when they drove past. They only said the dome light was on when they drove past. They didn't say anything about it when they were sitting behind her.
He's a
But
giant.
Nagel said her
But
tail light was intact when they were behind her.
but if there were so many people pulling in and out, they would have seen a lot more tire tracks. And they don't talk about that aside from Matt McCabe seeing a V. How does he see a V when there were like 5 other cars that came and left before he
Just
saw
too
them?
many human
Well,
people
like I
walking right
said,
there. The from the doorstep to where John was is like 60 feet. Pitcher's mound to home plate. It's not
like
that
I said
far.
last night,
It's
Karen
not that
said
far.
she did a 3-point turn when Proctor interviewed her at her parents' house that night. So Proctor put it in Matt McCabe's head that she hit him doing a 3-point turn. So that's when McCabe said, "Yeah, I saw a V-shaped tire track in the snow." I don't think he saw anything. I think he was
Yeah,
just
but
trying to help.
how fast can you do this event with somebody on the road you're on coming up
Yeah,
behind you?
it's
I mean, I
so
totally agree.
narrow.
The event would have to take 3 seconds.
Yep. And then to
Then
be
he's
in a
definitely not
snowbank
covered with
when there's
snow,
no
and when they
snow.
pull up, they're gonna see him. There's no snow then. There's no snowbank then.
And there's a spotlight and a flagpole. It's
Yeah, but
silly.
these people have human eyeballs.
They
Your
do.
your your brain will detect that
And
stuff.
I've had human drunk eyeballs in Massachusetts, and I
Well,
still would
everybody
have
was
seen it.
drunk, but Nagel wasn't drunk. He was sober,
Exactly. So it's
and I don't
just
think
silly.
he's in on it.
Nagel
I just
wasn't sober. The
No,
White Ron, whatever the driver, had not had as much to drink.
I thought it said he was sober.
No,
And
he
she
had
was
had a
he
saying,
said
couple
he didn't
one.
drink.
well,
That doesn't mean he
but
wasn't playing in the snow. If
yeah,
you
but
catch my
he would have
drift.
seen it. He would have seen it. As soon as you pulled up, you'd been like, "Damn, somebody's laying in the yard."
Yep, exactly.
But that's what I'm saying. The
It's not a
argument
3-acre
is
yard.
John was not hit before Nagel and them pulled off. The argument is that they pulled off and that John was outside the car when they pulled up beside Karen.
No, but
And
that
then
makes
she
no
pulled
sense
up and
either.
then backed up.
He's a foot taller than the car. He's standing there peeing. They'll be like, damn, John's out there pissing in the yard.
They would definitely see the stream shadow.
Yeah.
I'm
You would have
100% he was
seen
in
him.
the house. I'm just telling
Would
you
have
what
seen
the
him.
other side is saying happened.
But you would have seen him. He got out of the fucking car and went straight inside. And she sat there until she got pissed off and drove off. Period.
Sure, the scene wasn't tampered with.
The crime scene was completely open.
Yes.
Unsecured.
Yes.
And Brian Albert didn't offer his house up as a command center for officers to come out of the cold. Blood droplets found at the scene were put in red Solo cups.
Just any Solo cups or the Solo cups that you took back to the station from 34 Fairview?
Were acquired from the deputy police chief, Tom Keller, who lived across the street.
It looks like an evidence bag. It just doesn't say Canton Police on it. It says Stop and Shop, but it does look like an evidence bag. It's the same thing.
It should be noted that Keller had a Ring camera pointed directly at the area where Commonwealth alleges that John was hit by a car. Michael Proctor never even asked to look at the Ring camera footage.
Because again, this is astounding. Look how close that is. It's right there.
I can even put my camera up there.
Yeah. Like that's the view it would have gotten.
Meanwhile, Proctor and his partner Yuri Buchanan didn't even go to 34 Fairview Road that day to investigate the scene. At 11:30, they decided it was finally time to interview some witnesses. But instead of separating them and recording their interviews at a police station, which is what detectives always do, they decided to interview just 4 witnesses: Jennifer McCabe, Matt McCabe, Nicole Albert, and Brian Albert at the McCabe's house.
That's like a fucking joke. That's a joke. There was 30 people involved in between the bars and the home party. So, what?
I mean, you
interview
know,
2 married couples that can't even go against each other in court.
but you know how horribly they were talking about Karen because Proctor knew of Karen's medical conditions
Exactly.
at the arrest that night. So you've got
Exactly.
Jim
So,
just talking horrible stuff about her, and Proctor formed his opinion right out the gate that she did this.
are there tapes of these interviews?
No.
No. But also, yes,
After
Scott.
being together.
Sorry. Yes, Scott. The snow isn't even an issue, so all the testimonies already they can already be thrown out. Even if he was peeing.
Yep.
All morning getting their story straight.
Right.
4 of them drove across town in the middle of a blizzard where they were interviewed by Proctor and Buchanan. At no point was anyone in the house treated as a potential suspect who had to be ruled out. Their story was a simple one.
Nice. We got a special guest. He was supposed to come the other night, but I got stoned and forgot. And well, the link was, I didn't hit send before I went somewhere else, so his link sat there.
I was wondering when I
was
watched the
sad.
replay, I saw him in the chat,
Yeah.
so I thought,
I was almost mad. I was like, this motherfucker ain't gonna come up here. What the fuck? And then the whole time the link didn't send. What
but
up?
you also didn't ask for it.
Yeah, but he thought we were more
You wrong. You wrong.
thought we were more organized than we were. It wasn't very organized. What's up, Higgy?
What's up?
Ayo, Higgy.
How's the squirrel business?
It's me, Higgins.
Is that Higgins?
How's the squirrel business going, Higgy?
I have a Jeep with a plow on it.
Cool.
He's
You're
been holding
decorated,
the
dude.
character since Friday night. So we're just watching some shit about you on TV here.
And was blindly taken as gospel by police. John O'Keefe never came in the house. But this story strained credulity because there's no possible way that none of them would hear or see a 3-ton vehicle striking a man, and that none of them would see his body laying on the lawn when they left. The 4 McAlbert.
You remember all this, Higgy?
Oh, I remember it very well.
You remember this night?
Yeah, there was a fight in the garage that night, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Word on the street
all
is he
told the
broke
same-
down and confessed afterwards too, to a
Ooh,
girl and then also to some people at a bar.
never happened.
It's all Karen's fault.
She wouldn't.
Same story. They went out to the bar. Things seemed fine. Karen and John pulled up outside. He never came in. She left. And in the morning, when Jen and Karen went out looking for him, Karen had a cracked taillight and said, could I have hit him upon finding his body? That was it. That was all Michael Proctor needed to hear to determine that Karen Reid was the killer. He didn't speak to anyone else, but he made up his mind by 12:30 p.m. By that time, no taillight pieces have been found. No one saw a body on the lawn. No surveillance video was pulled, and none of the first responders were interviewed. Nonetheless, Proctor and Buchanan had determined that Karen Reid was guilty, so they got in their car and drove to her parents' house in Dighton to seize her phone and car, which he knew was the murder weapon, based solely on what Jennifer McCabe had told him that Karen Reid had said. A cover-up is easier to cover up when you involve less people. It's not what the police did do during the investigation they made that made it a cover-up. It's what they intentionally didn't do. Proctor didn't interview Julie Nagel, Caitlin Albert, her boyfriend Tristan Morris, Brian Albert Jr., or any of the people who were admittedly at the house that night. Sarah Levinson was in the house that night, and her name was kept hidden from the defense for almost a year. Julie Nagel wasn't interviewed until 9 months after O'Keefe's death, and only after the defense filed a motion in which they pointed out how impossible it would be for no one to have seen a body on the lawn. Conveniently, for the first time at her interview, Julie Nagel told Proctor that she saw a dark, shadowy figure on the front lawn. She didn't say it.
Yeah, Higgy, you throwing any phones away at the military base lately?
Yeah. Well, it's more convenient and aerodynamic for me to drive directly through the military base, and I regularly throw phones away like 2 or 3 times a month. It's just like good American pastimes. My father used to throw the rotary telephone away, and his grandfather the telegraph. So it's like, it's something that we do. It's a tradition.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Do you have angry?
Do
Do you have angry family?
Come again?
Did you have angry family? Did you ever have one that took an axe to the phone on the wall?
Oh, yes. We would smash things. Yeah. We used to play on Nintendo Smash Brothers, and we used to watch Galaga on the television growing up. He had the Sledge-O-Matic, and he'd be bashing those watermelons. So then when they came out with the cell phone, we would always just smash cell phones. It was like girls would only date you if you were smashing cell phones, because if you didn't smash a phone, the girls wouldn't go out with you. So it's like, oh, I want to go out with girls, so you just gotta smash a phone here and there,
Yeah.
Yep.
That sounds
You
reasonable.
You can answer a debate we were having earlier. Where did you park that night after the waterfall when you went to 34 Fairview?
Right in front of the mailbox.
But nobody saw it there.
Wait, I don't know. Where did I park? The driveway?
When you had to move it from the mailbox, you parked it across the street, right?
Yeah.
Were you in Kellerhurst driveway the whole time?
Fuck, I wish I knew as much as you girls. Yes.
Just say yeah.
Yes. Who the fuck is Kelleher? Yes.
Kellerhurst got at the top across the street. That gave him the solo cups.
That guy.
George expect him to remember that. He was drinking for 2 days.
Wait, so Higgy was inside of the neighbor's driveway?
That's what I think.
That's what we're thinking.
It's a theory.
Is there any evidence?
Well, the only people who said he was parked by you were parked by the mailbox were Karen and Matt. I mean, not Karen, Jen and Matt McCabe. So none of the people in the Nagel vehicle saw your white snowplowed Jeep, and they were right behind Karen. And it makes sense that Kellerhurst driveway would be like a straight line from the front door to where John's body was to maybe drop a phone on your way to your Jeep over there.
Well, damn. All right, we gotta get
Yeah,
through
I've got
this.
a question. Why do you have like your gigantic tires and like really tall Jeep? Are you overcompensating for something?
I have a 2-inch killer, and the girls don't love it apparently. But
he's got to plow something.
But the bigger the tires on the car, my imagination of how big of a penis it is increases.
Jesus. Okay.
Cool.
Y'all's questions are not good questions.
Don't talk about Jesus like that, Daniel.
This is a family show. back to
the
Connor's not a
body
good
because
Family
she
genocide,
would
I
have
didn't
had
know
to
that.
call police if she did. But calling it a dark, shadowy figure was her way of suggesting that something might have been there without implicating herself. Conveniently, at trial, Julie Nagel's story also evolved, this time claiming that the dark, shadowy figure was actually a 5 to 6 foot black blob. She testified that she realized the next day that the black blob was John O'Keefe, but didn't come forward to speak with police about it. Then there's Colin Albert. Despite admittedly being at Brian Albert's house that night, Colin wasn't interviewed by police until 18 months after John's death, and only in regards to him being a victim of alleged witness intimidation. Conveniently, on the day Karen Reed was arrested, Colin's mother, Julie Albert, sent Proctor's sister, Courtney, a text message offering a thank you gift to Proctor for not interviewing Colin. Instead of telling her that this was unethical, Proctor told her to give the gift to his wife, Elizabeth, instead. Colin Albert never had to hand over his phone or answer any questions from police. His existence at the house was hidden, despite the fact that Steve Scanlon somehow knew he was there that night. Colin claimed that he was home in bed by 12:30, but yet at 12:33, minutes after Reed left 34 Fairview and John O'Keefe's phone moved for the last time, Colin called a friend named Erin Beatty. She didn't answer, as kids at that age almost never call each other, and when she contacted him the next day, he goes, never mind. For telling people this story, Erin Beatty and her father, Tom Beatty, were harassed and ostracized by adults in the Canton community. Jennifer McCabe and her friend Jill Thomas reportedly told 17-year-old Erin Beatty to, quote, put a dick in your mouth instead of talking so much. Chris Albert confronted Tom Beatty and tried to get him to say that Colin never called Erin that night. They were going out of their way to pressure the Beatty family to lie and cover for Colin. Since Colin didn't speak with police and his parents did the speaking for him, an alibi for Colin was finally presented at trial, claiming that he was picked up by Jennifer McCabe's daughter, Allie, at 12:10. As evidence, the Commonwealth submitted an unverified screenshot of a text message with the name Colin at the top. No celebrate report, just a screenshot that Chris Albert gave prosecutor Adam Lally. At 12:10, Allie tells what she claims is Colin, I'm here, but it doesn't say where here is. For all we know, she could have been picking up Colin to drive him to 34 Fairview, which would make sense because the party wasn't really starting until everyone else got back from the bar. Allie testified that she was driving people around all night and that Colin Albert was her last pickup at 12:10. She said she was home in bed by 12:30, but there was just one problem with that. Her Life 360 data shows that she was driving around till 1:30. But just like all the phone calls and Google searches in this case, the Commonwealth's response to this was that it was just a mistake. If we're to believe Colin's story, it would mean that a 17-year-old who likes to drink and party asked Allie McCabe for a ride to 34 Fairview Road to wish his much older cousin a happy birthday in person, then had her pick him up 90 minutes later in order to get him back home as soon as his fun uncle and his friends showed up to party. Right. Meanwhile, Chris Albert initially testified that he left the Waterfall bar and was home at between 12:05 and 12:10. He said that Colin got home 15 to 20 minutes later and came upstairs to say goodnight to his parents. There was a problem with that story, though. Chris is seen on surveillance video at the Waterfall bar at 12:13, and it would take him at least 7 to 8 minutes for him to walk home from there. By his own admittance, his son Colin got home much closer to 12:45, which meanwhile, Chris Albert initially testified that he left the Waterfall bar and was home at between 12:05 and 12:10. He said that Colin got home 15 to 20 minutes later and came upstairs to say goodnight to his parents. There was a problem with that story, though. Chris is seen on surveillance video at the Waterfall bar at 12:13, and it would take him at least 7 to 8 minutes for him to walk home from there. By his own admittance, his son Colin got home much closer to 12:45, which would mean that he was still at Brian Albert's house when John O'Keefe arrived. This is why the defense is so suspicious of Colin Albert. The McAlberts in the Commonwealth are insistent that Colin wasn't there when John O'Keefe was allegedly killed. But why would it matter if he was inside and John O'Keefe was killed outside by Karen Reed? Why did he call Erin Beatty, a girl he wasn't dating, out of the blue at 12:33? Why did his family try to silence the Beattys? Why did his mother offer Proctor a thank you gift? And why were his knuckles so cut up in a picture a few weeks later? Colin had an explanation for that too, which illustrated just how easily he could lie with a straight face.
And I was walking up the driveway and I slipped down the driveway and I tried to catch myself, but I had something in my left hand. So I tried to brace myself with my right hand and I ended up sliding.
Oh my fucking knuckles. Nobody in the history of mankind except a guy carrying 2 gold bars has ever fell down and scraped his fucking knuckles. That just doesn't make, you would break your wrist. I mean, you'd have a double wrist break.
He's a fucking dumbass.
It's a fucking stupid story. Like, at least look at him. He's like, come Colin, you can't land on the back of your hands with your body weight. Lolly, what happens
Not
when
the
those?
back of your hand, his fist.
I
Like
know,
he literally
but you're
lands
gonna
on
roll
his
over.
and just slide down.
No, those hands are gonna roll over, and you're gonna have a double wrist
His
break.
knuckles would have definitely been what you would call displaced. Like they would be in front of the other fingers next to him.
It would. That just doesn't even make sense, Colin.
A little bit down the driveway.
Right. Obviously, that was a lie, which begs the question, if he didn't do anything wrong, why did he have to lie? Colin also testified he'd never been in a fight before. Shortly after that, the internet found 3 videos of him fighting, proving that he lied about that too. Why lie if you have nothing to hide?
You're a bitch, bro. Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you, you pussy.
Clean cold, boy. You be knocked out. KO. Bang, bang.
These are questions an investigator looking for the truth could have grilled him on. Colin was a hothead and previously had issues with O'Keefe. But when the lead investigator is Michael Proctor, whose mother describes Colin's family as a second family.
Crazy to catch felony charges, doing some satire, and using the guy's own words to mock him, and then catch a. That is the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life.
But the sad thing was Bradle couldn't explain it when Krupp asked him about that. Turtle Boy had to tell him what to say.
You don't have to worry about being questioned by police. But perhaps the most obvious witness that Proctor went out of his way not to speak to was Brian Lucky Loughran. Proctor interviewed DPW Director Michael Trotta and claimed that Trotta told him that the Canton DPW does not plow Fairview Road. This was an outright lie. I tracked down Mr. Trotta and asked him myself.
Is there any reason that Lucky Loughran, Brian Loughran, would have been plowing that road at 2:30 in the morning?
We generally have 2 people on every route, so there's usually a town plow with a contract plow.
After that, I tracked down Lucky, who was happy to tell me what he witnessed that morning. Lucky said that he did first plow Brian Albert's house at 2:30 and didn't see a body on the lawn. When I asked him if he would have seen a body if a body was there, he was insistent that he would because bright lights and constantly looking on the yards and scanning sidewalks in case animals ran into the road. Lucky told me that when he tried to do another plow of Fairview Road an hour later, he couldn't because there was a Ford Edge parked in the exact spot where John O'Keefe's body would be discovered 3 hours later.
Who owns a Ford Edge?
Colin was driving one. Brian Albert had one. But the thing is, the color that Lucky said was not the color of either one of theirs. But since the police didn't investigate it, we'll never know.
Yeah. But somebody probably that they know.
Now, apparently, it's a common vehicle between law enforcement in that area. I mean, was Kevin Albert? Didn't I hear someone say he had a Ford Edge as well?
We'll never know because they didn't do
These 3 members of the Albert family, Kevin, Brian, and Colin, owned a Ford Edge at the time. If there was nobody on the lawn at 2:30, which Lucky Loughran and 7 other witnesses said there was not, then Karen Reed couldn't have struck him at 12:30. Then a Ford Edge appeared. Then there was a body. You do the math. The fact that the state police didn't put out an all-points bulletin looking for that Ford Edge is all the evidence you need to know that this was a cover-up. Remember, this cover-up wasn't so much what the cops did to cover it up. It was what they chose not to do. Choosing not to interview Lucky Loughran was deliberate. They knew that if they spoke to him, he was going to say there wasn't a body on the front lawn. And logically, they'd have to pursue whoever was driving the Ford Edge since they were allegedly right next to a dead cop on the lawn. Michael Proctor didn't want to pursue any leads that didn't point to Karen Reed. The state police finally decided to interview Lucky Loughran 18 months after the death of John O'Keefe and 2 days after I published this bombshell interview with him. But Proctor and Buchanan weren't trying to learn more about the Ford Edge. They were trying to discredit his testimony and get him to say that I illegally wiretapped Lucky. At trial, Brian Tully testified that he didn't investigate the Ford Edge because Loughran couldn't possibly be sure it was a Ford Edge. But it had 4 wheels and an engine, and whoever was driving it was supposedly parked next to a dead body that police think was run over by a car. So wouldn't you want to find out who that person was and speak with them? Nah. Better just pin it on Karen Reed. Rather than question any of these witnesses, Proctor and Buchanan drove to Dighton to seize Karen Reed's car, which they hadn't seen yet, because they were certain that it was a murder weapon. No taillight had been discovered at the scene yet. At 2:30, they called and asked Dighton police for a tow. When they arrived an hour or so later, they didn't take a picture of Karen Reed's car to show the condition of the taillight before it had been towed. According to Michael Proctor's report, And as with all the witnesses, they didn't record any of their interviews with Karen. Reed's car was towed at 5:30 p.m. This time is critical because the state police began searching the area where John O'Keefe's body was discovered at 5:45 and found 4 pieces of taillight. If the car was towed at 5:30, then there was no way it could get from Dighton to Canton in a blizzard, normally a 40-minute drive, in time to plant taillight. But as it turned out, Michael Proctor was lying about what time he towed the car. Video surveillance from the Reed's house shows the car being towed at 4:12, and a Dighton police report confirmed this. This meant that Proctor was unaccounted for with Reed's car for 78 minutes and would have more than enough time to get the vehicle to Canton and plant taillight before the state police search at 5:45. Nevertheless, in pretrial hearings, the Commonwealth continued to lie about what time the car was towed. Adam Lally said in court filings that Bill Reed's ring video didn't reset for daylight savings, but the sun set that day at 4:56, and there was still sunlight in the video at 4:12. Eventually, after
All right, I got something to show y'all real quick. It's only like 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
It's my cardio! It's my cardio!
Nice.
That's so gross.
That's what Connor's feeling right now.
Hey, MJ.
What's up, MJ?
Oh, nothing, just waiting a couple hours for you to send me the link. That's all.
Oh my God. Send it to a bunch of people now, so just.
Oh,
Left-
well, sorry.
left
I
all
actually
means in
thought
the
I was
queue.
wanted up here.
No, only send it. That's why people think this is an open panel show. It's not. Not open panel. There's not random people.
After realizing that they couldn't lie their way out of this one, the Commonwealth called it a scrivener's error, even though the digits 412 are nowhere near 530 on a keyboard. The state police CERT team, led by Lieutenant O'Hara, began arriving at 34 Fairview Road at 4:51, searched the area where John's body was discovered. By that point, Proctor's commanding officer, Lieutenant Brian Tully, determined that O'Keefe was hit by a car and told O'Hara that they were looking for pieces of taillight. The scene was unsecured the entire day, and more than 18 inches of snow had fallen since the Canton police searched the area and didn't find a single piece of taillight. Internal messages show that the CERT team was ready to start digging at 5:30, but that Lieutenant Tully did not give them the green light. Time was of the essence, and snow was continuing to fall. What was Tully waiting for? Simple. They needed to wait for Karen Reed's car to arrive in Canton first. They could have brought the vehicle to any state police barracks close to Dighton, including Middleborough or Foxborough. Yet they insisted on bringing the car to the Canton Police Department less than 2 miles away from Brian Albert's house, where Kevin Albert was working. The car is seen on video, which was shown for the first time in Reed's first trial, entering the Canton Police Sallyport garage at 5:36 p.m. Proctor could be seen hanging around what appears to be the left rear taillight, which was not broken. In other words, there was no evidence Proctor went anywhere near Reed's broken right rear taillight, except there's just one problem. The video shown in court was intentionally inverted. What appeared to be left was actually right, and Proctor was hanging out there for a while.
In the video, the word police appears backwards on another vehicle parked in the garage. So does the number 4 on one of the garages.
Danny, did you see
crazy.
that the antique police car is being auctioned off right now?
Yep.
The
Up
Canton
to
Police
9,000.
Yeah.
Up to 9,000. And also new people and other people. I've already set it up so you don't have to leave here. When the intro starts for Turtleboy, I'm going to end the show and it's going to magically transport you to the Turtleboy chat. You don't have to do anything at all. I will
Did you do
send
it
you.
right this time?
Yes, I actually hit send on it this time.
Is
It
he
is set up.
scheduled to go at 8 our time?
Yep. So you got about 14 minutes and I'm going to transport you. Just like they used to do back on Star Trek.
Overhead doors. Defense attorney Alan Jackson believes it was no accident.
The timestamp across the bottom?
Oh, yeah, I think you do now. It's going to pop up and say go now, and you just tap go now. I don't know why. I guess that's in part of the update the other day. But yeah, I'm going to send you that.
Is not inverted. And there appears to be somebody standing near it.
Who's the guy in the watch cap, in the winter cap, back there by that right rear tail light the entire time by himself? That's Proctor.
The Commonwealth was trying to deceive the jury. The cover-up was happening right in front of millions of people. For 20 seconds at 5:37, the video cuts out. And when it begins again, you could see another unknown man who was not in the video before, leaving the area where Proctor was standing by the right rear taillight. Who was this man? And did he have pieces of taillight with him when he left? Was it Kevin Albert or Brian Higgins' close friend, Chief Ken Berkowitz? The Commonwealth still can't explain who that was. But coincidentally, 5 minutes later, after that, Lieutenant Tully gave the CERT team the go-ahead to begin their search. Lieutenant O'Hara testified that he had no idea who several members of the CERT team were, but said that he believed they were Canton police. Minutes after they began searching, someone, they never said who, found a piece of red taillight under 18 inches of snow. This was the exact same area Lieutenant Gallagher searched on video during the daylight with the leaf blower on video and did not find any taillight. Yet the CERT team was able to find it under all that snow with minimal effort in the dark 10 minutes after Reed's car arrived at Canton Police. Whoever this officer who found the taillight was never testified at trial. They also found John's missing size 12 shoe that the Canton Police completely missed during their search. So either the Canton Police are blind and incompetent, or the taillight and the shoe were planted. Shortly after that, someone on the CERT team found 3 more pieces of taillight. Once again, we don't know who, but Brian Tully had seen enough. And now that he had some physical evidence linking Reed to the crime scene, he shut down the search. O'Hara offered to come back the next day in the daylight to search some more, but Tully told him he was all set. Instead, the state police were instructed to drive by on their way to work to see if any taillight presented itself. And wouldn't you know it, it did. Over the course of the next 3 weeks, Chief Berkowitz, Sergeant Buchanan, and Proctor found a total of 47 pieces of red taillight. The pieces actually became bigger as time went by, leading to this dinner-sized plate discovered by Proctor on February 18th. You got that? Canton Police, the CERT team, and everyone who went to the house for 3 weeks didn't see that piece of taillight just a few feet from the curb. Of course, Proctor didn't take any pictures of any of this because documenting isn't really his thing. After all, it's just the murder of a cop. Who cares about completely incorrect police reports? No chain of custody and a complete lack of documentation. You would think after the second or third time the taillight presented itself that the state police would have preserved the crime scene, but not these Keystone cops. They just kept doing their drive-bys until they could put the entire taillight together like a jigsaw puzzle. Here's the problem though. Reed's taillight did not look like this when she pulled out of John's driveway at 5:07 seconds after backing into his car. As you can see, the taillight was cracked, but not completely broken. Don't take my word for it. Listen to Dayton Police Sergeant Nicholas Barrows, who observed the condition of the taillight at the Reed house and made sure to point out,
I saw that there was some damage to the right rear taillight. To my best ability and recollection, that taillight was not completely damaged. It was cracked and a piece was missing, but not completely damaged.
Bam. That dude cleaned the clock. Knockout punch right there.
How did y'all feel though during trial 2 when he was testifying that he was shown the pictures of the taillight from the garage and we all knew he wasn't in trial 1? Like, I was just wanting to punch him through the screen. I'm like, you're screwing up right now, dude.
Dude, that testimony he gave in that second trial was like, after that day, you were like, nope, not going to happen this time. There's no way that would be a hung jury this time.
No. For a while there, I thought that was going to be, honestly. I was nervous.
I was, after Welcher came up, I was good. I was just concerned about Shannon Burgess and Welcher based off of what they could possibly testify to. But after I saw them, I'm like, no, we're good.
Well,
I love that you were nervous about me and Shannon.
Well, based off of his credentials, but they weren't real.
Right.
That was a good little refresher, though. Just go back through some of it.
It was. That was good to watch.
I feel like that like Jackson was trying to warn us that they were complete idiots, like without saying it. He's like, oh yeah, this PowerPoint presentation, like we don't know what it means.
Well, that, and also about me and Shannon messing up bytes and bits from the get-go.
Yeah, that was the first one.
I was just still concerned because to me, the first trial should have been not guilty across the board easily. So
Right.
if they were to bring anyone convincing with the telematics, it was going to be like crap, but they just weren't.
They couldn't be because it didn't happen. They tried to make it like physically possible and they couldn't.
They tried to make the timeline basically what made her guilty. And that was Hank's whole argument in closing is the timeline. She's the only one who could have done it based off this timeline, but yet y'all changed the timeline.
Yeah.
Right in
Yeah,
front of
remember
her
that?
eyes.
You had to redo your whole shit because you got
Right.
it wrong the first time.
Now there's this drift with the clocks and like I'm done. I'm done trying to act like his injuries came from a vehicle.
Not one of them looked like they came from a vehicle.
No.
Like not getting pushed out of a vehicle, not getting hit by a vehicle, not
Or
getting
trying to
run
say that the top
over from a vehicle.
spoiler is what cut his eye but didn't bruise? Come on.
Yeah, seriously. It's a damn 7,500-pound vehicle moving at 24 miles an hour. If you can multiply, you can come up with the pounds per square inch. And the bone, human bone, just does not have that much resistance to that.
And then Welcher wanting to put the hat on to show how the head abrasion would have
Oh my
happened hitting in the
God.
back. Like, come on.
That was
We're not-
so creepy. When he like dressed up as him in the videos.
Like, why?
It
Yeah.
was so cringe. I was like, oh, I don't like
But
that.
one thing I have never understood out of either trial is how come supposedly there was vomit down his shirt and into the top of his boxers. And by the Commonwealth's explanation, there's no way that's possible.
Yeah, so where
But
did he
the-
stop and do all that?
But the
From the
defense didn't
waterfall.
argue it either. And to me, if it really happened, they would have. But
Because
I
after
thought
he
we
got
saw
that head
report,
injury, that was it for his bodily
and he was
functions.
laying flat. He wasn't sitting upright or standing up.
So he'd
Right.
have to. It's just not
When
possible. A lot of that shit's not possible. It didn't just did. It's physics. You can't do some of that stuff physically.
Right, but why don't y'all think the defense argued that if that stuff was true? About the blood down
Mhm.
his shirt and the vomit all the way down to his boxers.
Yeah. Because he'd had to have been upright for at least 2 or 3 seconds for the blood to
Right,
drip
that's what I'm
down.
saying. Why don't you think the defense argued that ever?
I have no idea. I guess nobody could figure out what it was or how it happened.
That's just always bothered me.
Yeah,
But
because
what
in the
bothers
first
me
trial,
is
I feel like they were giving a lot of information, so that's when they would have given it. The second trial, they were trying to like not overwhelm the jury, but in the first trial, they weren't really worried about that. So
Yeah.
I'm not
later
sure.
Tombstone. Bye, Tombstones.
Bye, Tombs. Love you.
Bye, Tombstones.
What up, Higgy? What up, Higgy?
Yo, you wrong.
You wrong.
So Higgy, what game were you playing when John's nephew when you broke his controller?
Oh, I think Pac-Man.
It got you that worked up?
No, it wasn't a video game. I was watching Cops, and I was getting sweaty. I was getting all. I get all worked up and
I know you
excited.
weren't watching Cops.
That's like
Wait,
watching.
which time? What time are we talking about here?
The night of the Pats game when you were over at John's house and you had to apologize the next day for breaking his nephew's controller, like his
Oh.
video game controller.
Pokemon.
I thought you were playing Burger Time.
It was Plants vs. Zombies.
That's a tough one.
That just seemed a little extreme.
I understand the
Higgy.
rage.
Maybe Charlie gets it. I don't. That sounds like a problem my 12-year-old has.
It
These
does.
controllers are hard
put
to break.
yourself back to your 12-year-old self.
We need to figure out how Higgy hid this Jeep. This whole ass Jeep with a damn
why?
snowplow.
Because it was a Hot Wheels.
Well, that's a better explanation.
Yeah, maybe he shrunk it.
Dude, cover-ups suck. Hey, thank God for Lucky Loughran.
No shit. That's what we were saying earlier.
Before Edge. Oh, who read that cryptic text message or the post Did you guys see that post from the retired Canton police officer sergeant?
You talking about Peter Murphy?
Yeah, did you read it? How he said that he put it was cryptic. He made a comment about the federal investigation potentially still being ongoing and to pay attention.
I mean, he's been saying specific dates that stuff's going to happen, including last Monday, the same day Nick Rocco said something big's going to happen. But then he also chatted in Melanie's stream yesterday or today. Yesterday, I think it was, that he feels like the feds are going to swoop in on a Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner at the McAlberts. And get
Wow.
him out.
I like
I
it.
mean, I want to believe it, but Sean on the golf.
Oh, sorry. Somebody said in the chat here earlier that there was possibly going to be an arrest tomorrow.
You're right. I love it. Hey, I'll sign up for that. Hey, if there's an arrest, it'll happen at 6 a.m. That's how the FBI rolls.
Yeah, they'll get you at like the weirdest hour.
They're there right when you wake up.
Because Jen didn't have time to brush her teeth, remember?
Well, I
But that was
mean,
after she dropped her kids off.
Yeah. But she
I mean,
still hadn't brushed her teeth.
have you seen her teeth though? Seriously?
Which one?
That one that's just a little bit off. It's just pointing a little to the left.
God damn, Kevin.
God
I
damn.
got that fixed, remember?
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
No, I'd love to believe that, but Sean on the golf said the same thing about everybody. Did any of you guys watch Auntie Deb and Nurse Kim with the
Yep.
1 year anniversary
Yeah.
of Sean on the golf?
Oh, that was amazing.
It was. It like so much of it made sense. It was a little sad.
Yeah.
Dude, that guy's a meme factory.
Just so you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
I'm watching. So when Turtle Boy goes live, we're going to get off of here.
You're gonna send us? I
Until
know you're gonna get off, but are you gonna send us over there?
Yes.
Anybody have that clip where Sean goes, "I'm a ditzy girl"?
We have
Well,
Jimmy
they'll know.
where he has all the cats doing it.
Oh my god.
That's great.
I mean, it's
Let's
a
see
good
if he goes on
possibility
time.
if there's an arrest coming that it could be Sean Good. I mean, because there's obviously stuff in motion on him.
I'm so guilty.
I'm glad EB's here. That makes me feel good.
Aww.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's
I
awesome.
hate streaming from my phone. I can't freaking chat.
You can
Loser.
chat. You just look stupid looking at the other screen, and then Danny starts talking to you, and everything you've typed, you have to like just give up and go back.
Yeah, I have to like jump. I'm like, oh shit.
Damn.
You want to know something so embarrassing? I am talking on my phone, watching you guys on my TV with the chat also on live stream on TV, but chatting in the chat on my iPad.
That's what I do.
God damn.
Charlie.
Yeah.
I've got
It's-
13
Dang.
screens open right now.
It's
And
a
Charlie-
full-on operation over here. Yeah.
Charlie, Mary, and Danny, I have not had the opportunity to tell y'all. Y'all did phenomenal the other night. I came in late, so I had to catch up over the weekend, and I have not laughed so hard as I did watching y'all. Especially Charlie. Like Charlie, to me, she kept getting darker and darker and darker, and it was hilarious.
It's hilarious.
Oh
Yeah,
my
we had a lot
god.
of touches that made it, you know?
Charlie and Mary
Mary
B.
B, you had been rehearsing those moves, and then Carsey comes up and he starts doing the dance in Glara's tight T-shirt. I'm like, oh my lord!
Oh
this
my
is
God.
perfect.
Then I left Higgy's fucking StreamYard link just sitting there and didn't hit send.
Mary with the cigarettes. Kev with the cigarettes. I was dying laughing, rolling on the ground.
Started using a pen.
Yeah.
The fence and the smoking.
For
Oh, the
not having
fence.
much preparation. I mean, come on, y'all didn't have much preparation at all. That was great.
No, I literally like went on Google and I was like rickety fence picture.
I love it.
It was awesome.
That was hilarious. We
All right,
need.
John.
I should have sent you a carburetor, Mary. You could have taken it apart and put it back
Oh
together.
my god, That would have been great.
Or you should have just sat in your car and taken your
Dad,
door
you don't
panel
have to
off.
leave. Danny's about to teleport
Say
us.
goodnight.
Everybody leave.
Say goodnight.
Night-night.
Any questions?
Enjoy the
MJ?
show. You wrong.
Good night.
You
Keep it all
wrong.
tight.
You guys in TV's chat.
MJ, what were you saying the other night when I did the stream?
Don't do it, MJ.
Don't do it.
What, you guys talking about shenanigans?
No, I was asking.
You talking about shenanigans?
Hurry up
Say it.
before everybody leaves. What were you
Do it to
talking about?
Steve.
Hurry up.
Dude?
Shenanigans.
Why not, Richie?
At band camp.
Steve,
Oh.
tell us a short
Mary
story.
showed us band camp.
One time at band camp, I stuck a flute.
CHATRATS, y'all ready? Light it up. Light it up. It's that time. Let's roll.
Got the crew on the dial and we setting out east. Rat daddy at the wheel on a trail for the beast. Toy got receipts and a pocket full of names, and we busting out truce like we blowing out flames.
Eastbound and down, CHATRATS rolling heavy. Truth on our tailgate, justice riding steady. Mic in our hand and the signs all red. Ain't no lies slipping past what the CHATRATS said.
Got the playlist, angels taking charge. Law leans on the mic and her notes hit hard. Mary B's lifted, but she's sharper than attack. Dean's dropping questions while he's rolling in his Cadillac.
Breaker, rap mama here, got eyeballs on that shady scene. Y'all ready? Light it up, rats. 10, 4, 20. Northbound and bold, truth in the backseat. CHATRATS got that heat, can't be beat. From the CHATRATS lounge to the courthouse gate, we ride for the truth and we show up to see that fate.